Hey, Ed from Precision Gun Reviews, and I have another gun review here on the table. Don't mind this subcompact PPQ magazine. That might come into play later. For now, it's the M&P 2.0 compact. We've already taken a look at the full size, and now it's time to take a look at this very anticipated and much appreciated entry into the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 lineup. And here it is in its plastic carrying case from Smith & Wesson. It comes with 1, 2, 3, 4 back straps and palm swells, and 1, 2, 15 round flush fit magazines. For now, let's remove this, slide that away, and show the gun in all its glory. So there's that 15 round magazine. This is a polymer frame striker fired double stack handgun in 9mm, and it is Smith & Wesson's long awaited and long anticipated competition, their entry in the Glock 19 sized firearm. This is the same size roughly as the Glock 19, the PPQ, the CZ P10C, and others, but those are some of the major players. And this is the size that a lot of people have been clamoring for. Is it the perfect Smith & Wesson M&P? Well, let's find out. First of all, let's take a look at the specs as we always do. It is 7¼ inches long, 7.25. It is 5 inches tall. It is 1.2 to 1.3 inches thick, depending on where you're measuring, and it is 24 ounces, as noted by Smith & Wesson, but that's without the magazine. With the magazine, it's closer to 27. It's about 26.7 ounces, which makes it come in a bit heavier than its competition, the Glock being more around 24 and the PPQ at 25. The CZ, I think, maybe 26, but some other things to note. This is the M2.0 styling. It's got this aggressive grip texture that keeps the gun firmly planted in your hand every time you take it out to shoot. It has this steel chassis embedded into the frame that helps aid in keeping this frame rigid and stable, which is intended to aid in accuracy and follow-up shots. I don't know exactly how helpful that is. I don't think I'm a good enough shot to be able to really measure that difference. What I can tell is it has a better slide lock and release for a right-hander, although for a lefty this is going to be doable, just a little bit harder. You really have to get on top of that. The trigger is one of the updates in this firearm, but we'll get to that in a minute. Some other things of note is the traditional 18-degree grip angle of the Smith & Wesson M&P line. A nice, full, solid grip. It's very ergonomically designed in terms of shape. It feels really good. There is a short trigger reach on this hinged Smith & Wesson M&P trigger. Has an excellent mag release for the 15-round magazines. It is 15 plus 1 and a double stack. The Smith & Wesson M&P line is known to have good magazine ejection, as you can see here. They've added some of this texturing onto the mag button as well. The gun still has its noteworthy scallop-style fish scale serrations in the rear, as well as on this lower portion of the slide in the front. The slide is a little bit different in its relief cuts, but what I want to note is this is good for someone who does these forward of slide press checks or racks the slide from up here, but I'm really grabbing up here when I do this, and I'll tell you why. Because if you get down onto here, you're going to hit this frame, which is actually wider than the slide. So if you're grabbing on there, you're going to lose it. So you end up just grabbing there anyway. They would really do well to have these up on this relief cut instead of all the branding. The gun still has a witness hole to see if you have a round chambered. It has 3-dot sights and a very nice sight picture, one of my favorites. The Smith & Wesson sight picture is fantastic. There's a steel rear sight, a steel front sight, both of them dovetailed in and adjustable and nice and sharp. You know, there's a good deep cut in that rear sight and it's relatively narrow. It gives you a really fantastic sight picture. Probably my favorite out-of-the-box sight picture of all production firearms. It does have a Picatinny rail of 3 notches on that Picatinny rail, and I should have mentioned before that at the magazine well there are little relief cuts here for if you have to clear that Type 3 malfunction. Also related to the magazine, there is no magazine disconnect, so you can fire the gun with no mag in the firearm. We do have their stainless steel slide and barrel with Smith & Wesson's Armor Night finish. And if we take a look inside the firearm, we'll see that we break it down much like previous Smith & Wessons. There is the takedown lever, the sear deactivation lever that you can remove by using this tool that comes in the grip right there. But I'm just going to let it down and pull the trigger and slide that off there. And now you'll see that we have our classic Smith & Wesson internals. We've got the trigger bar, pulls that sear down. We've got very nice sized rails up on front here and more steel back here for the slide to ride on. You'll see this slide lock is a little bit different in design. It's not exactly a symmetrical stirrup that it used to be, and it also locks up in place. This prevents the firearm from auto-loading when you jam a magazine home. But it also, if you get that up there, you'll prevent your slide from going back on. In the top here, in the slide, we have a single coil recoil spring on a steel guide rod, very nice high quality flat spring, and the stainless steel barrel with conventional rifling and that same Armor Night finish. And it's something you'll recognize, very familiar to anyone who has shot polymer frame striker fired pistols, linkless design. I mean, nothing really special. It's got its firing pin, block safety. That's really about it. I mean, I don't know where we're really jumping in here. I like the way that this spring really sits down in there, makes it easy and secure. There's a lot of confidence when you're putting this one back together. You do have to lock it back to put that back up, and as you can see, it's very simple to drop the slide with the slide lock. We could take a look at the trigger here. So there's a look at the trigger. It is the same design visibly as the old M&Ps, but it has been updated. It's a lighter trigger, and it feels just a bit better. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of empty space, but basically you're just getting past all that to this point, which, as you can probably tell, is a short trigger reach. So it might feel a little pinchy to someone who has larger hands unless you add that larger back strap. And they do have 4 sizes now to accommodate for that. So here we go, we pull it back. There's a break right there, very minimal over travel, and there is that stop there. And then we rack it, and you will see a audible and tactile reset. And there it is again. Let's do that one more time. I'm even going a little bit too far on that. So most certainly an improvement in the trigger design on the M&P. It is a very reliable firearm. It's a inherently accurate firearm. It's not going to give you trouble there. I ran this gun with a variety of ammo, steel case, brass case, hollow point, what have you, you name it. Not a single hiccup. not a single malfunction, and it's something that I would definitely trust. And it's a proven platform. It's seen a lot of use in its original Generation 1 design, and this is just the refinement of it. This is a well-refined and I dare say perfected firearm. And unlike the full size, this one is a good size for carry. A lot of people are saying that this is the right size, or they finally made the perfect size. And I'm actually going to disagree here. I'm going to be the dissenting opinion. I was always a big fan of the Smith & Wesson M&P 9C, the Generation 1, which was a shorter 12 round, 12 plus 1 firearm, and I felt that it was better for concealed carry, whereas this one is about the size of a Glock 19. The original M&P 9C was somewhere between a Glock 26 and a Glock 19 size, and I thought that that was perfect because it wasn't too small, but it was also small enough to conceal very easily in a wide variety of situations. Um, but then again, I suppose if someone has this firearm, they might also have a single stack, in which case you'll make your choice based on the conditions, your weather, your clothing, your surroundings. But in any case, it's a fantastic firearm. It shoots like a dream. It's highly reliable. You trust your life with it. It's got all the design elements of a well-oiled machine, and it's the ideal size for what I think would be most people. I have these medium to large hands, and if I throw a hand on there, I've got a full grip there. My pinky's just reaching the edge, coming off just a little of that meat, but that doesn't matter at all. And it does allow this magazine to come out without getting hung up at all whatsoever. Again, you have these fantastic slide serrations, the fantastic sights that really maximize the length of the slide. This is about a 6.4-inch sight radius. And really, it's just a refined firearm that has everything you need. It is a bit heavier than its competitors. That's one downfall of the M&P 2.0, and that comes from making it a more robust design, adding this steel there, having that steel guide rod, sort of a heavy, thick slide. Doesn't taper much at the top like some other firearms, but they have added this relief. And one other thing that is actually a negative is the grip texture. While amazing for shooting at the range, for shooting at all, for shooting in bad conditions, for shooting in good conditions, whenever, this gun stays planted in your hand, and that's fantastic. However, this grip texture, I'm not sure if it's more aggressive or the same as the full size, and I wouldn't know because I didn't carry the full size like I carried this. And a lot of people carry their firearms under their shirt completely up against their skin. Well, a lot of people also have a t-shirt underneath, some sort of undergarment between their skin and the firearm. But if you are the type of person who's going to carry this, or any firearm, without something between your skin and this gun, you're going to feel a lot of irritation here should you sit down, lean back, drive a car, if you're holding it in any rearward position. I carried this gun a few times like that, and getting in and out of the car, you feel this just scratching against your skin. It left a very prominent red abrasion on my love handles back here, and that's not great. I would say I prefer this to be a little bit less textured. I mean, I like the way it feels while shooting. However, guns don't really fall out of my hand. I suppose I don't have sweaty hands. Maybe some people do. I don't go shooting in the mud very frequently, but I guess there's the worry that you might run into conditions where it's going to slip. But I would recommend throwing a Talon grip maybe on here, some sort of something to tone this down a little bit if you're going to be a person who carries with the gun underneath all of your upper garments and against your skin, because that's going to hurt. And I have a pretty high threshold for pain, I like to think. So the gun carries an MSRP of $569, but Online, you can find it as low as 400, 425. Yeah, you're going to get a good deal on this gun. That's another great thing about Smith & Wesson and the M&P series in particular. You get a really top-notch firearm for not very much money. And that's why I would always recommend this before, say, a Glock 19, because it's gonna save you $100 at least, and it's just as good, if not better, of a firearm. And I have to say, this is one of the great pistols that's been released lately, and there have been a lot of them. So if you're on the fence about it, I would say jump off the fence and go find yourself one, pick it up. The only real problem I see is this texture if you're going to carry against your skin, and maybe it's a few ounces heavier than some of its competition. Otherwise, I dig it. I even like the trigger. I'm not opposed to the M&P trigger as some people are. And I think even people who were M&P trigger opponents might find that this one is more to their liking. So that's it. That's the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 compact in 9mm. Go out and grab you one. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on Precision Gun Reviews. I'm Ed, and as always, stay safe.